My adopted daughter blocked me from attending her college send-off. So my name is Inez. I am 58 years old, and I still remember the day I first held Sophia in my arms. For 17 years, I poured every ounce of love into raising her as my own. We were inseparable until she found her birth family last year. Now I stand outside a restaurant, watching my daughter celebrate with strangers, while I have been explicitly uninvited. If you're watching this from a place where family bonds have been tested, give this video a like and subscribe to join our community, where we share stories of resilience and healing. Let's talk about what it means to be family beyond blood. Before Sophia came into my life, I was a different person. At 41, I was divorced, childless, and working long shifts as a registered nurse at Memorial Hospital. The doctors had told me years earlier that I couldn't have children of my own. It was a wound that never fully healed, but I had made peace with my life. I found purpose in caring for others, even if they weren't my own. Then one ordinary Tuesday in April, everything changed. I was working in the pediatric unit when they brought in this tiny 6-month-old baby girl. Sophia had been abandoned at a fire station with no information about her birth parents. She was underweight and had a minor respiratory infection, but what struck me most was how quiet she was. Most babies would cry, but Sophia just watched everything with these enormous brown eyes, taking it all in. I volunteered to stay with her after my shift ended. Something about her called to me. When she finally fell asleep in my arms, I knew I couldn't let her go into the system without at least trying to give her a home. The adoption process was grueling. As a single woman in her 40s, I faced skepticism from social workers who questioned if I could provide stability. There were home visits, background checks, parenting classes, and mountains of paperwork. It took 11 months of fighting before Sophia was legally mine, but I never wavered. I knew in my heart she was meant to be my daughter. Those first years were the happiest of my life. I can still picture her first birthday party. I had decorated our small living room with pink balloons and a homemade cake. When I helped her blow out the candle, she laughed so hard she got hiccups. I took a week off work just to hear that laugh every day. Her first day of kindergarten nearly broke me. She was so brave in her little blue dress and matching backpack, while I was the one fighting tears. "It's okay, Mummy," she said, patting my hand. "I'll see you after school." That was Sophia, always wise beyond her years. As she grew, her artistic talent became obvious. By 3rd grade, her drawings covered our refrigerator. By 5th grade, her art teacher called me in to suggest private lessons. I worked extra shifts to afford them, but never once complained. Seeing her face light up when she mastered a new technique was worth every exhausted morning. We had our traditions. Every summer, we would drive to Clearwater Beach for a week. We built elaborate sandcastles and collected shells that still line the windowsills of our home. On rainy Sundays, we would bake cookies and watch old movies together on the couch. For her 13th birthday, I surprised her with tickets to a Broadway show in New York City. We stayed in a tiny hotel room but spent most of our time exploring museums and art galleries. I never missed a parent-teacher conference or art show. When she won the state junior art competition at 14, I screamed so loud when they called her name that she pretended not to know me. But later that night, she crawled into my bed like she used to when she was little, and thanked me for always being there. I worked hard to give her everything I could. Sometimes that meant overnight shifts and overtime, but Sophia was always my priority. We didn't have luxury, but we had love in abundance. Our 2-bedroom house became a home filled with laughter, creativity, and support. From the beginning, I was honest with Sophia about her adoption. I created a special book that told her story, how she came to be my daughter, and how much she was wanted and loved. When she asked questions about her birth parents, I answered as truthfully as I could with the limited information we had. I always promised her that when she was older, if she wanted to find them, I would support her completely. I believed that knowing where she came from could only add to her sense of identity, not take away from our bond. How naive I was to think that our foundation was unshakable. I never imagined that helping her find her roots would almost cause me to lose her completely. The changes began subtly around Sophia's 16th birthday. At first, I chalked it up to normal teenage mood swings. She became more private, spending hours alone in her room. Our easy conversations became stilted. I told myself this was just part of her growing independence. All teenagers pull away from their parents eventually. But there was something more specific in her questions when we did talk. She began asking detailed questions about her adoption. What hospital was she born in? Did the social workers ever mention her birth mother's name? Did anyone know why she was given up? I shared everything from her file, which wasn't much. There was no birth certificate, just the report from when she was found at the fire station. I suggested we could try to find more information if she wanted. Part of me was terrified of where this might lead, but I had made a promise years ago, and I intended to keep it. That Christmas, I bought her a DNA testing kit. My hands trembled as I wrapped it, knowing it could change everything. But Sophia deserved to know her history. When she opened it, her eyes filled with tears. She hugged me tightly and whispered, "Thank you for understanding." 6 weeks later, the results arrived. Sophia insisted I be there when she opened the email. The test had found a second cousin on her maternal side. There was contact information for a woman named Gillian living in Atlanta, just 3 hours from our home in Nashville. Sophia's hands shook as she composed an email to this stranger who shared her blood. I sat beside her reading each word, offering suggestion but letting her take the lead. We both jumped when a reply came just 20 minutes later. Gillian was excited to connect and revealed she knew exactly who Sophia's mother might be, her cousin Amanda, who had mentioned giving up a baby girl 17 years ago. Within days, Sophia was exchanging messages with Amanda through social media. I watched from the sidelines as she spent hours chatting with this woman. She showed me photos of Amanda, a tall, slender woman with the same warm brown eyes as Sophia. I couldn't deny the resemblance, and it sent a chill through me that I immediately felt guilty about. "She wants to video chat tonight," Sophia announced one evening, barely looking up from her phone. "Is that okay?" "Of course," I said, though my heart raced. "Would you like me to give you privacy?" "Actually," she hesitated, "would you sit with me? Just at first." I nodded, relieved to be included. That night I sat next to Sophia as the face of her birth mother appeared on the screen. Amanda was younger than me by at least 10 years. She was beautiful, animated, and clearly emotional at seeing Sophia. "You look just like me," were her first words, and they landed like a punch to my stomach. Because she was right. They had the same smile, the same expressive hands when they talked. Biological connections I could never share. I stayed for 15 minutes before excusing myself, giving them space to connect. From the kitchen, I could hear Sophia's laughter, louder and more frequent than it had been with me in months. I busied myself washing dishes that were already clean, just to have something to do with my hands. Over the next few weeks, these calls became daily occurrences. Sophia learned that Amanda had married and had 2 other children. She lived in a suburban community outside Atlanta and worked in real estate. She had given Sophia up because she was only 19 and couldn't support a child, a decision she claimed to regret every day since. Sophia absorbed every detail, comparing their interests, their mannerisms, their opinions. Mom. Amanda loves Impressionist art too. She has a Monet print in her living room just like we do. Or, Mom. Did you know I get my hatred of cilantro from Amanda? It's genetic. Each excited discovery felt like an unintentional rejection of our life together, but I swallowed my hurt. This was normal, I told myself. She was just excited to find these biological connections. Our bond would remain strong. Then came the invitation for Sophia to visit Amanda and her family in Atlanta. I offered to drive her down for the weekend, but Sophia's response cut deep. Actually, Mom Amanda thought it might be better if it was just us this first time, so I can really get to know them without distractions. Distractions. Was that what I had become? Against my better judgment. I agreed. I drove her to the bus station, helped her buy a ticket, and hugged her goodbye. Call me if you need anything, I said. Anything at all. She nodded, already distracted by her phone. Amanda says they're planning a special dinner tonight. That weekend was the longest of my life. Sophia's texts were infrequent and brief. When she returned, her eyes sparkled with excitement as she described their beautiful house, her half-siblings who adored her instantly, and how Amanda had decorated a guest room just for her future visits. They want me to come back next weekend, she said. Is that okay? What could I say? That every visit made me feel like I was losing her. That each time she returned, she seemed a little more distant from me and our life. Instead, I smiled and said, "Of course, honey. I'm glad you're connecting with them." But as these visits became more frequent, I noticed troubling patterns. Sophia began comparing our modest home unfavorably to Amanda's larger house. She mentioned Amanda's designer clothes and luxury car. Worst of all, she started referring to Amanda as my mother in casual conversation, as if I had been demoted to some undefined role. When I gently pointed this out, Sophia rolled her eyes. You know what I mean, Mum. She's my biological mother. You're still my mum too. Why are you making this weird? But it was already weird and getting more complicated by the day. The real crisis began when Sophia's college acceptance letters arrived. She had applied to several schools, including the prestigious Rhode Island School of Design, her dream school for studying art. When the thick envelope arrived from RISD with a partial scholarship offer, we danced around the kitchen in celebration. "We did it, Mum!" she cried, hugging me tight. For a moment, she was my little girl again, and I felt our connection as strongly as ever. But that weekend, when she visited Amanda's family and shared her college news, everything shifted again. She returned quieter, conflicted. Amanda thinks I should consider Georgia State instead, she said that Sunday night. It has a decent art program and it's close to them. Plus, it would be much cheaper. But RISD has been your dream for years, I reminded her. And we've been saving in your college fund since you were a baby. Between your scholarship, the savings, and my contribution, we can make it work. Sophia bit her lip. Amanda says art degrees are risky. She thinks business would give me more security. Since when have you been interested in business? I asked, trying to keep the frustration from my voice. I don't know. Maybe she has a point. Sophia shrugged. She works in real estate and makes really good money. This became a recurring theme. Every suggestion I made was countered with Amanda thinks or Amanda says. Decisions we should have been making together were being influenced by someone who had been in Sophia's life for mere months compared to my 17 years. Still, I continued supporting her financially and emotionally. I took her shopping for dorm supplies. I paid the enrollment deposit at RISD when she finally decided to stick with her original plan. I scheduled orientation and made travel arrangements. Meanwhile, Sophia's communication became increasingly transactional. She would text when she needed money for senior activities, or ask me to order things online for her. Our dinner conversations, once filled with laughter and stories, became brief exchanges of necessary information. One evening, I overheard her on the phone in her bedroom, the door not quite closed. No, Mum, I know, she said. And for a moment I thought she was talking to me before realizing she was on a call. She's being so controlling about college, acting like she knows what's best for me when she's never even been. I froze in the hallway, my heart pounding. Yeah, exactly, Sophia continued. She's just the woman who adopted me. You actually understand me. Just the woman who adopted her. 17 years of love, sacrifice, and devotion reduced to a clinical transaction. I retreated to my bedroom before she could see me and cried silently into my pillow. The next day, I tried to talk to her about what I'd overheard, but it only made things worse. Were you spying on me? She accused. That was a private conversation. I wasn't spying, Sophia. I was walking past your room and heard you talking about me. Well, it's true, Amanda gets me in a way you never have. She's an artist too, did you know that? She could have been professional if she hadn't had to give me up. I took a deep breath. Sophia, I've supported your art since you were 5 years old. I've paid for lesson supplies, museum trips. With your nurse's salary, she scoffed. Amanda and Paul live in a 5-bedroom house with a pool. They could give me connections opportunities you never could. Her words struck like physical blows. When had my sweet, appreciative daughter become this person who measured love in square footage and bank accounts? Money isn't everything, Sophia. And may I remind you who's paying your tuition? As soon as I said it, I regretted using finance as a weapon. But I was hurt and lashing out. Sophia glared at me. Maybe Amanda would pay if you weren't so insistent on controlling everything. We both knew that wasn't true. Despite all her talk of love and connection, Amanda had not offered a penny towards Sophia's education. It was still me working extra shifts to afford tuition payments. Me, who had saved diligently for years to give her this opportunity. Our arguments became more frequent and vicious. Sophia would throw in my face that I wasn't her real mother. I would remind her who had been there for every skinned knee in school play. We were both saying things we couldn't take back, creating wounds that would be difficult to heal. Through it all, I continued making payments. Dorm room deposit, orientation fees, art supplies from the extensive required list for first-year students. I even ordered her a new laptop, thinking it might bridge the gap between us. She took it with barely a thank you. The final blow came in July, just 3 weeks before she was set to leave for college. Sophia came home from another weekend at Amanda's with an announcement. They're throwing me a going-away party next Saturday, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. A special dinner to celebrate before I leave for RISD. That's nice, I said cautiously. What time should I be ready? I can drive us down. Sophia fidgeted with her phone case, still not looking at me. Actually, Mum, I think it would be better if you didn't come. The words hung in the air between us. I felt as though all the oxygen had been sucked from the room. What do you mean I shouldn't come? I finally managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Sophia still wouldn't meet my eyes. It's just... Amanda thinks it might be awkward. This is supposed to be about me connecting with my birth family before I leave. Having you there would change the dynamic. Sophia, I am your family, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. I've been your mother for 17 years. She finally looked up, her expression hardening. I think it's better if we keep things separate. My birth family and my adoptive family. The word adoptive had never been used as a qualifier between us before. It had always been just my mum, my daughter. The distinction felt like a wall being erected between us. Is this really what you want? I asked. Or is this what Amanda wants? It's what I want. She insisted, though something flickered in her eyes. I need this time with them. I need to explore this part of my identity without you. hovering, hovering, as if my presence in her life had become an annoyance rather than the foundation it had always been. "I see," I said, though I didn't see at all. I couldn't comprehend how the child I had raised could so easily push me aside. "When is this dinner?" "Saturday at 7, at Riverview Restaurant." She seemed relieved that I wasn't fighting harder, which only deepened my pain. I nodded and retreated to my bedroom, unable to trust myself to speak further without breaking down. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the photo on my nightstand, a picture of Sophia and me at her 16th birthday. Both of us smiling broadly, her arms wrapped around my neck. Had that really been just over a year ago? That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sophia sitting at a table with strangers who shared her blood, but not her history. People who hadn't held her through nightmares, or nursed her through the flu, or celebrated her achievements. People who claimed to love her, but had known her for mere months. The next morning, I tried one more time. "Sophia, I understand you want time with your birth family, but couldn't I at least drop by for dessert? It feels wrong not to be part of your send-off." She was already dressed to go to Amanda's for the day. "Mum, please don't make this difficult. I've already told them you're not coming. Did you tell them I wasn't allowed to come? Or did you tell them I chose not to come?" I asked quietly. Her silence was answer enough. "I see," I said again, though the pain was nearly unbearable. "Have a good time then." As soon as she left, I tried calling her cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. When I checked Instagram to message her there, I discovered she had blocked me. The same was true on Facebook and Snapchat. In the span of a morning, I had been completely cut out of my daughter's digital life. Around noon, my phone rang. It was Sandy, a nurse I worked with occasionally. "Inez, I just saw Sophia at the mall with a woman and some teenagers. I waved, but she pretended not to see me. Is everything okay?" My throat tightened. "Everything's fine, Sandy. That was probably her birth mother. They've been spending time together." There was an awkward pause. "Oh, I didn't realize." "Well, they seemed to be having fun shopping. The woman was helping Sophia pick out some expensive-looking clothes." After we hung up, I sat in the kitchen staring at the calendar where I had circled Sophia's college move-in date. I had taken a week off work to drive her to Rhode Island, help her set up her dorm room, and say our goodbyes. Now I wondered if she even wanted me there. Saturday evening arrived with excruciating slowness. I knew I shouldn't go to the restaurant. It would only create drama and potentially push Sophia further away. But some desperate primal part of me needed to see her to witness this event, from which I had been so deliberately excluded. I drove downtown and parked across from Riverview Restaurant, an upscale place overlooking the river that I had never been able to afford taking Sophia to. From my car, I could see through the large windows to a private room where a group was gathered around a long table. And there was Sophia, laughing, surrounded by her biological mother, a man I assumed was Amanda's husband, and two teenagers, who must be her half-siblings. She looked happy, radiant even. Wearing a new dress I had never seen before, her hair styled differently than how she wore it at home. She looked like she belonged with them, this beautiful, affluent family that had welcomed her into their fold, as if the previous 17 years had been merely a preamble to her real life. I sat there for nearly an hour, tears streaming down my face, watching my daughter celebrate with her new family. Then, unable to bear any more, I drove home to our house that suddenly felt emptier than it ever had. When I entered Sophia's room, I noticed immediately that several of her favorite possessions were missing. The silver jewelry box I had given her for her 15th birthday. The collection of art books we had accumulated over years of museum visits. Even the handmade quilt her grandmother, my mother, had made before passing away. She had been systematically moving her treasured items to Amanda's house, preparing to erase her life with me even before leaving for college, and I had been too blind or too much in denial to notice. As I sat on her bed, something caught my eye. Her dresser drawer was slightly open, and I could see the edge of her passport inside. When I opened the drawer to put it somewhere more secure, I discovered my spare bank card underneath it. I kept it as an emergency backup, and Sophia knew the PIN because there had been times when she needed to withdraw money for school expenses when I was working. A cold realization washed over me. Had she taken it to use at the dinner, to show off to her new family that she had access to money? I went to my own room and found my bank statement from the previous month. There were several unexplained withdrawals and charges to stores I never visited, all made when Sophia was supposed to be at Amanda's. Small amounts that I might not have noticed individually, but which added up to over $500. My daughter had been stealing from me while simultaneously pulling away emotionally. The betrayal was almost too much to bear. With shaking hands, I called the bank and reported the card stolen. I changed all my passwords, froze the joint checking account I had set up for her college expenses, and even put a temporary hold on the next tuition payment until I could speak with Sophia. It felt drastic, but I needed to regain some control over the situation. If money was what Amanda and her family valued, then perhaps this would force a conversation that was long overdue. Just after 11 that night, my phone rang. It was Sophia, and she was furious. "What did you do to the bank accounts?" she demanded without preamble. "I froze them," I replied, keeping my voice calm despite my racing heart. "We need to talk about some unauthorized charges I found." "Are you kidding me? You're spying on my spending now." "It's not spying when it's my account, Sophia. There were withdrawals I didn't make." "I needed that money tonight," she shouted. "Do you have any idea how embarrassing it was when the card was declined? Amanda had to pay for everyone." So I had been right. She had planned to use my card to pay for this dinner from which I had been explicitly excluded. "How much was the bill?" I asked quietly. There was a pause. $2,000. She finally admitted, her voice smaller. I nearly choked. $2,000 for a dinner, Sophia, that's more than half a month's salary for me. It was a special occasion. Amanda reserved a private room and ordered champagne. Everyone got steak and seafood. Her voice turned accusatory. She asked me to contribute since I'm going to be an adult now. I was going to pay my share. With my money, I pointed out. Money I earned working 12-hour shifts caring for sick children. "You're just jealous," she snapped. "Jealous that I finally have a real family who can give me the things you never could." The words cut deep, but I refused to let them derail me. "I'm not having this conversation over the phone, Sophia. If you want access to the accounts again, we need to meet face to face." "Fine," she spat. "But I'm bringing Amanda with me." "No," I said firmly. "This is between you and me. If you bring Amanda, I'll leave, and the accounts will stay frozen." There was a long silence then. "Fine. Coffee Bean on Main Street. Tomorrow at 10. She hung up before I could respond. I arrived at the coffee shop early the next morning, choosing a quiet corner table. Sophia stomped in 15 minutes late, her eyes puffy and red. I had ordered her favorite vanilla latte, which sat cooling on the table. "You've ruined everything," were her first words as she slumped into the chair across from me. "How exactly have I done that?" I asked, pushing the latte toward her. She ignored the coffee. "Amanda is furious that I couldn't pay my share. She says it shows a lack of responsibility." "Interesting perspective," I said carefully, "especially considering you were planning to use my card without permission." "I've used it before for school stuff," she protested. "This wasn't school supplies, Sophia. This was an expensive dinner with people I've never even met who didn't want me there." I leaned forward. But that's not even what concerns me most. What hurts is that you've been systematically shutting me out of your life, blocking me on social media, moving your things out secretly, using financial resources I provided while treating me like I'm nothing to you. Her expression wavered between anger and something else. Guilt, perhaps. You don't understand, she said, her voice cracking. Amanda and Paul, they're my blood. They understand me in ways you can't. Blood doesn't make a family, Sophia, I said gently. 17 years of love, support, and presence make a family. I'm not saying Amanda and her family can't be part of your life, but the way this has happened, the way you've pushed me aside, it's not right. You're just being possessive, she muttered, but with less conviction. Am I? I asked. Who paid your school fees all these years? Who drove you to art lessons every Saturday? Who sat up with you all night when you had pneumonia in 8th grade? Who is paying your college tuition? She didn't answer, staring down at the untouched coffee. I'm not asking for gratitude, Sophia. I did those things because I love you, but I am asking for respect and honesty. Finally, she looked up, tears welling in her eyes. They've been asking me for money, she admitted quietly. What? This was not what I had expected. Not directly at first. Amanda would mention how expensive gas was getting driving me back and forth. Or Paul would talk about the cost of adding me to their family phone plan. Then it got more obvious. They suggested I contribute to household expenses when I stay there, help pay for groceries. She swallowed hard. Last week, Amanda asked if I could access my college fund to loan them money for a new car. I felt sick. Did you give them anything? She nodded miserably. The withdrawals you saw, some were for things I wanted, but most were for them. Amanda said it was my way of making up for all the years they missed supporting me. Oh, Sophia. My heart broke for her. The manipulation was worse than I had imagined. And then last night, she continued, her voice barely audible. When the card was declined, Amanda got really angry. She pulled me aside and said I needed to call you immediately to fix it. When I suggested maybe we could split the bill differently, she said. Sophia's voice caught. She said maybe I wasn't worth the investment if I couldn't contribute financially to the relationship. Anger flared within me, but I kept my voice calm. And what did you think when she said that? I felt like I'd been slapped, Sophia admitted. All these months, I thought they wanted me because I was their daughter. But last night, when Amanda was so focused on the money, I started wondering if that's all it ever was. I reached across the table and took her hand. I can't tell you what their motives are, Sophia, but I can tell you that my love for you has never been conditional on what you can give me. She squeezed my hand, tears falling freely now. I've been so awful to you. The things I said. We've both said things we regret, I acknowledged. But we can move forward from here, together. Sophia wiped her eyes. Amanda keeps texting me. She wants to know if I fixed the money situation. I took a deep breath. What do you want to do? This is your decision. She looked at me with clearer eyes than I'd seen in months. I think I need to talk to them, set some boundaries, but… She hesitated. Would you come with me? I don't think I can do it alone. It was the first time in months she had asked for my support, and despite everything, my heart swelled. Of course I will, I said, but only if you're sure that's what you want. She nodded firmly. It is. I need to know if there's anything real there beyond the money, and I need my mum with me when I find out. My mum. Two simple words that meant everything. The drive to Amanda's house the next day was tense. Sophia sat beside me, rehearsing what she wanted to say, occasionally falling silent as anxiety overtook her. "We can turn around any time," I assured her. "You don't owe them this conversation." "I know," she said, "but I need it for me. I need to understand what this relationship really is." Amanda's house was exactly as Sandy had described it, large, elegant, in an exclusive neighborhood. Nothing like our modest home. I felt a momentary pang of inadequacy, but pushed it aside. Material wealth wasn't the measure of a good parent. Amanda opened the door, her smile faltering when she saw me standing beside Sophia. "I didn't realize you were bringing your adoptive mother," she said, the pause before adoptive, deliberate and cutting. "I asked her to come," Sophia replied firmly. "We need to talk, all of us." Amanda reluctantly showed us into an immaculate living room where her husband Paul and their 2 children sat. The teenagers barely looked up from their phones. "I understand there was some issue with the credit card at dinner," Amanda began directing her words at me. Sophia was quite embarrassed. "That's actually why we're here," Sophia said before I could respond. "I've been thinking about our relationship, and some things don't add up." Amanda's expression tightened. "What do you mean?" "Why did you wait until I was 17 to find me?" Sophia asked bluntly. "You could have looked for me years ago." Amanda glanced at Paul before answering. "We weren't in a position to. I mean, finding an adopted child is complicated." "But when Gillian told you I had reached out, you responded immediately," Sophia pressed. "What changed?" "Nothing changed," Amanda insisted. "I always wanted to find you. The timing just worked out now." "The timing," Sophia repeated. "Right around when I mentioned I was going to RISD with a scholarship and savings." Amanda's face flushed. "I don't know what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything. I'm asking directly." Sophia's voice grew stronger. "Have you been using me for money?" "How dare you?" Amanda stood up indignant. "After we welcomed you into our family, a family that suddenly needs loans for a new car, that expects me to contribute to a $2,000 dinner, that criticizes the woman who actually raised me for 17 years. Sophia shook her head. "That doesn't feel like family to me." I remained silent, proud of Sophia's clarity and courage, yet heartbroken that she had to experience this disillusionment. "You ungrateful little," Amanda began, but Paul cut her off. "Amanda, don't." The tension in the room was palpable. Amanda's children had finally looked up from their phones, watching the drama unfold with wide eyes. "Is it true?" Sophia asked Paul directly. "Did you reach out to me because you thought I had access to money?" Paul at least had the decency to look ashamed. "It wasn't the only reason," he said quietly. "But yes, when Gillian mentioned you were going to an expensive art school, Amanda thought. We thought. You thought I could help with your financial problems?" Sophia finished for him. Her voice was steady, but I could see her hands trembling. "Did you ever actually want me as your daughter? Or was I just a potential ATM? Amanda's face hardened. "You have no idea the sacrifices I made for you. I gave birth to you." "And then you gave me away," Sophia replied. "Which was your choice, and maybe the right one at the time. But this woman," she reached for my hand, "she chose me every single day for 17 years. She sacrificed for me when there was nothing to gain. That's what a real mother does." I squeezed her hand, too moved to speak. Amanda looked from Sophia to me, her expression calculating. "So what now? You're just going to cut us out of your life after we've built this relationship?" "No," I said, finally speaking. That's not who we are. Sophia deserves to know her biological family, and I would never ask her to choose. But there need to be boundaries. No more financial requests. No more undermining her relationship with me. No more manipulation. And if we refuse these boundaries, Amanda challenged. Sophia stood up, still holding my hand. Then yes, I will cut you out of my life. Because I've already got a mother who loves me unconditionally. I don't need another one who only sees me as a dollar sign. We left without further drama, both of us silent until we were in the car and driving away. Are you okay? I asked softly. Sophia shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Mum. I let them come between us. I believed all their promises and made you feel like you weren't enough. You were always enough. More than enough. Oh, sweetheart. I pulled into a park and turned off the engine so I could properly hug my daughter. We're going to be okay. She cried against my shoulder like she used to when she was little. I said such horrible things to you. I don't know how you can forgive me. Because that's what mothers do, I told her simply. We forgive, we heal, we move forward. As we sat there holding each other, I felt something shift back into place. The bond that had been stretched and tested, but never truly broken. What about RISD? She asked eventually. The tuition payment is still going to happen, I assured her. We had a plan all along and we're sticking to it. Your future matters to me, Sophia. It always has. The relief in her eyes was palpable. Thank you for everything, for not giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to. On the drive home, we began to talk like we used to, sharing thoughts and feelings without the wall that had grown between us. Sophia admitted that Amanda had been pushing her toward business rather than art, suggesting that Sophia could eventually join her real estate firm. But I hate the idea of selling houses, she confessed. I've always wanted to create, not sell. Then that's what you'll do, I said firmly. You'll follow your passion and I'll support you every step of the way, just like always. For the first time in months, we arrived home feeling like a family again. There was damage to repair, trust to rebuild, but we had taken the first crucial steps. 2 months later, I helped Sophia pack the car for our drive to Rhode Island. The tension with Amanda and her family hadn't completely dissipated, but Sophia had established clear boundaries. She still talked to them occasionally, but maintained a healthy distance and no longer allowed them to influence her decisions or come between us. The 12-hour drive to RISD gave us plenty of time to talk, to plan, and to heal. Sophia had decided to pursue a double major in fine arts and arts management, a compromise that honored her creative passion while adding practical business skills specific to the art world. It was actually something a RISD advisor suggested, she explained as we crossed into Massachusetts. Not Amanda. I realized I do want some business knowledge, but on my terms in a field I love. We arrived at the campus on a perfect late August day. Sophia's dorm was small, but charming, with large windows, perfect for natural light for her artwork. Together we arranged her furniture, hung curtains, and set up her art supplies. Other parents and students bustled around us, all engaged in the same ritual of beginning this new chapter. I want you to have this, Sophia said, pulling a small wrapped package from her backpack after we had finished setting up. Inside was a framed drawing. She had done a portrait of the two of us, rendered with such skill and emotion that it brought tears to my eyes. At the bottom she had written, "For my mom who showed me what family really means." It's beautiful, I whispered, hugging it to my chest. I'll treasure it forever. That evening, before I had to leave, we walked around the campus together. The reality of our impending separation hung between us. Bittersweet, but no longer painful. I'm scared, she admitted as we sat on a bench overlooking the quad. What if I'm not good enough? What if I made the wrong choice? You'll be more than good enough, I assured her. And if something doesn't work out, we'll figure it out together. That's what we do. I don't deserve you, she said softly. After everything I did. Stop that, I said firmly. We've moved past that, and you deserve every bit of love and support I can give you. Always have always will. When the time came for me to leave, our goodbye was tearful, but peaceful. No longer shadowed by resentment or manipulation, just the natural sadness of a mother and daughter who loved each other facing a necessary separation. Call me when you can, I said, holding her tight one last time. Not because you have to, but because you want to. You want. I will, she promised. Every week. And she kept that promise. Our Sunday video calls became a cherished ritual, Sophia excitedly sharing her projects, her new friends, her challenges and triumphs. She flourished at RISD, her talent recognized by professors, her confidence growing with each passing week. Meanwhile, I focused on healing my own wounds. I joined a support group for adoptive parents, navigating relationships with birth families. I started taking art classes at the community college, something I'd always wanted to try but never made time for. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during the tumultuous months of Sophia's senior year. Sophia maintained minimal contact with Amanda and her family. Christmas cards, occasional texts. She discovered that once the possibility of financial gain was removed, their interest in her diminished considerably. It was a painful lesson, but one that ultimately brought clarity. I'm glad I found them, she told me during one of our calls. Not because the relationship worked out, but because now I know. I'm not wondering anymore about who they are or why they gave me up. I have answers, even if they weren't the ones I wanted. And how do you feel about that? I asked. She considered this thoughtfully. I've realized that family isn't about blood or biology. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you not for what you can give them, but for who you are. She smiled. You taught me that, Mum, by example. In the end, the crisis that nearly tore us apart ultimately strengthened our bond. We had weathered the storm and emerged with a deeper understanding of what it truly means to be family. True love. I've learned sometimes requires standing firm. Setting boundaries isn't about punishment or control. It's about protecting what matters most. Sometimes you have to be willing to risk losing something to save it. And to those watching who may be facing similar challenges with your family relationships, I hope our story offers some comfort and guidance. Remember that blood doesn't define family love, commitment, and presence do. If you've found wisdom in this story, or it's touched your heart in some way, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share your own family journey in the comments below. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with people you love? How did you navigate that challenge? Your stories matter, and together we can support each other through life's most painful moments. Thank you for listening, and remember, true family is measured not by genetics, but by the love that withstands every test.